share the link out tomorrow with everyone, so those who were not able to attend the meeting can view it and see what we talked about. So I'm Sherry Barrett Lewis, the Disaster Program Manager here in Northern Nevada. As always, my contact information is included here on the agenda that will also be sent out to everyone in that email tomorrow. I want to take this opportunity to welcome all of our new volunteers that we brought on the team this week. Loretta from Silver Springs, welcome to you. We're glad to have you on board. Loretta is going to be supporting our disaster action team and any local responses, as well as a duty officer. So thank you, Loretta, and welcome aboard. I'm also going to jump right into the upcoming events and opportunities that we have going on. There's a lot happening today right here at our office. Like I talked about already, we have Stop the Bleed and Narcan training right after this meeting at 5 o'clock. We also are having our holiday gathering potluck, which will be starting, the social hour will be starting for those who do not want to attend the Stop the Bleed and Narcan training at 5 o'clock. And then for those who are part of that training, we'll start that and all of the main festivities at 5:30. We're guessing that's about when the Stop the Bleed and Narcan training is going to end. Hello, welcome friends. I'm going to turn around. We have those who are at our preparedness meeting joining our volunteer opportunities and updates meeting. So thank you, folks. What did you see out there? Tell us about our preparedness materials that you got to see.
So it's still in order. Let's make sure of that.
And sealed.
Yeah, we've been doing regular inventories. So we've been kind of sealing those boxes and marking the counts each month. So for those of you who don't know, we have regular preparedness work group meetings, and we just finished one of those up. If you guys are interested in supporting our preparedness team, our preparedness programs, our next meeting is going to be on January 9th. We're going to take a little bit of time off for the holidays, but I'll be sending out a reminder, and we'll be talking about it again at this meeting before our next one comes up. But it gives us an opportunity to really brainstorm on a lot of ideas, ways that we can support our local communities, even when they don't have disasters. How can we reach out to community partners and offer training so they can prepare for themselves should a disaster occur, maybe for their businesses or for themselves at work, so they have a plan if people are at work while their kids or other family members are at home. Have those conversations. Barry is part of our disaster spiritual care team, and he does an amazing thing, and I hope you're not embarrassed by me calling you out on this, Barry, but at the preparedness meeting, he shares that just to give himself the knowledge he needs so that he can support those who are impacted by disaster from all different faith communities. He visits different churches and different faith-based communities to find out, if I come across a person who needs support and they're part of your religion or your faith, how can I support them best in their recovery? Because it's not necessarily about what religion Barry practices, but it's really about how he can support those who've been impacted by disaster. And we were talking about the different opportunities that provides us for just to network with that faith-based organization in all sorts of ways, whether it is to talk to them about using their facility as a potential shelter, or if they have a way that they can help support with our feeding needs during a disaster, or how can we come in and help educate and help prepare them as an organization or individually. So those are the types of conversations we have at our preparedness meetings, as well as how we can generate interest in people reaching out to request smoke detectors through our home fire campaign, all those different types of things. So if you're curious about opportunities, ways to serve your community outside of disaster response, please join us. because it's a great opportunity to just brainstorm about a lot of different things, but really with a preparedness focus. Anything you guys would add based on what our preparedness work group does? All right. Any questions online about what our preparedness work group does? Okay. So one thing that we have coming up, also tomorrow, is our disaster client care programs office hours. I do not know a ton about this, but it's something that's available. It's a group that you can reach out to find out tips and tricks for RC Care users. For those of you who might not know who RC Care users are, that's anybody on our disaster action team. It's anybody that is on our disaster spiritual care, disaster health services, or disaster mental health teams who help support recovery efforts, and any of our recovery team members. Is there anyone else I'm forgetting that uses RC Care? So if you guys ever have questions, you're wondering about how something works about the program, updates about the program, things you've had problems with, that's what those office hours are available for. So I've included the time and the link for you to register if you just want to go check it out. I personally have not attended yet, but I don't have a lot of interaction in RC Care where I've had a lot of questions or challenges. Anyone have any questions about that? Okay. Not a ton happening coming up because we have the holidays, so we're taking some much needed time off. So really the next thing we have is our volunteer opportunities and updates meeting next week on the 19th, this same time. It's going to be virtual only. So yeah, not a ton to report on upcoming opportunities. We also have, and this has slightly been changed. We thought the date was going to be January 11th, but it's now been changed to January 18th. Volunteer Services is throwing us a New Year's party. So it's going to be a lunch potluck here at the Reno chapter office. And Erica Smith is going to share those details and updates with us as they become available. I'm not sure if Erica joined us today. It doesn't look like it. So we'll have to get most of those details from her at our next meeting. Some important information. We have already had 2 more DAT responses this month than we had all of last month. Most of them have been in Washoe County in Reno, and we didn't have any in Washoe County in Reno last month. So it's crazy how our DAT responses happen, the trends. We typically see an increase this time of year for all of the normal reasons. People are cooking more for the holidays. People are using a lot more electrical appliances, outlets, lights, all sorts of fun things for the holidays. And people are using their heating systems a lot more. So we'll typically see an increase in our DAT responses and home fires, unfortunately, this time of year. And it's been incredibly cold at night. I don't know how cold it was at your house this morning, but it was 12 degrees at my house this morning. And I left at 6:30 and it was chilly. And it was pretty cold all the way down to Hawthorne. So yeah, people are using their heating systems more. And that includes those in non-traditional housing, like those living in RVs and camper trailers, and maybe manufactured homes or cabins that weren't really intended for the winter months. And sometimes people will use heating systems that aren't necessarily intended for those types of dwellings, and fires occur. So just keep in mind that if you're a DAT responder, we really need you to sign up for shifts in the Reno Washoe area. In our rural communities, don't worry about signing up for shifts because we don't ever know when those calls are going to come in. But in Reno and Washoe, we're seeing an increase in regularity. So we would love to see those shifts filled as much as possible. it's also tricky during the holidays because a lot of people are traveling. So if you know you're going to be available for a block of time, please sign up. It just makes it easier for the duty officer and any of the other responders out there know that there are people available. So this month, we've opened 6 cases. We've given out $2,680 and we've supported 13 people. And what's most exciting about it for me is that out of those responses, we've had 8 different responders go out. So we always have a lot of different people responding, and that shows there's that many more people available. Jim Rich is the only person who's gone out twice so far this month. But a big thank you to Mike Algier, Chris Butson, Heidi Johnson, Jim Rich, Mindy Sue, Sherry Reisinger, Matt Mulder, and Lisa Pizel. Thank you guys all so much for going out, signing up for shifts, and making it really easy. Northern Nevada, it is one of the chapters that our duty officers really appreciate because even when we don't have people on shift, when they send out that communication, we usually have responders get back to them right away and are willing to go out. And I don't know of any responses that we haven't been able to get to in 2 hours. Most of our responses we really get to within an hour, unless they're in one of our really rural communities. So great job, everyone. Thank you guys so much for supporting our disaster action team. The one thing that wasn't on our upcoming events, because the reminder came out after I created the agenda, was we have a DAT meeting on Monday. So all of the DAT responders should have received an email from Jim Rich last night with the link, but that meeting is this upcoming Monday at 6 p.m., right? Am I remembering correctly? 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you guys are DAT responders, please try to attend. You can attend in person at the Reno chapter office or virtually using the link that Jim sent out. I cannot talk today, you guys. I'm sorry. It's like I'm leaving out letters. I think I mentioned we have the 6-hour shifts available. Does anyone have any feedback on that? I know last week we heard from a couple of people that they were appreciating those 6-hour shifts. Jim did tell me today that we have a little more openings than we normally do, but I think that's because of the holidays. Less is as much of a factor of the 6-hour shifts. But does anyone have any feedback online or in the room? Yay to the 6-hour shifts. Not so much on the 6-hour shifts. How are you guys feeling about it? Still good?
I did a mix of them and I like having that flexibility.
Can I ask, do you ever do split? Like, do you ever do like 6 hours in the morning and then 6 hours at night, but nothing in the middle? Because I mean, I find my schedule where that would work for me because I have blocks of meetings. So it's good to hear that it's providing more flexibility. That's what the hopes were. We're probably not going to get a lot of encouragement to continue if we have less people filling the shifts. So try to fill the shifts so that we can keep those 6-hour shifts going because we're kind of a trial run right now. Also on our agenda each week is the link to our fiscal year DAT responses. So if you're ever curious about where we've been, who's responded, please go ahead and check out that document. I'm not going to open it this time because I've opened it on several other meetings, but it gives you all the details you might want by county, how many responses we've had, how many dollars we've provided. I am going to open it up because I did add a new thing since last week, which was a due community area. So you guys are going to hear me talk about due community quite a bit. Our 2 due communities are Fallon and the North Valleys of Washoe County. And those are just communities we've identified as being a little bit more vulnerable to recovering from disasters should they occur there. And we'd like to focus not all of our attention, but more of our attention on supporting those communities that may not have received as much of attention in the past.
What DUE stands for?
No. I cannot. Does anyone else know what DO stands for? No, I don't. I've always just heard it referred to as DO communities, and I didn't know if it was an acronym for something. I don't think it is. I think it's just about doing things in those communities, but I really should find out, Betsy. That's my homework for next week, you guys. I promise to find out if DO is an acronym or why it's called DO communities, because I'm not sure. Just for understanding of how many responses we've had in our DO communities, I've added that to our DAT call breakdown. So far, we've only had one DAT call in either of our DO communities, which was in Sun Valley some months ago. That leads me to the next part of our agenda, which is things that happened since our last meeting. One of the things that we did on November 30th, and I think I may have talked about this a little bit at our last meeting, but we went out and did door hanging in Sun Valley in the Sun Mesa neighborhood. And that actually was very close to where we had responded to that one DAC call. So another thing that we're trying to do to help encourage folks to reach out to our home fire campaign members for the free smoke detector installations is doing outreach in the areas where we respond to DAC calls. So we have a small work group, we'd love to grow it, called the Post Home Fire Outreach Work Group. And those are folks who've decided it would be great to go out and do outreach right around where we've responded. So hang door hangers on homes within that few blocks radius. Hello, Jean, hell, come on in, where a fire happened while it's fresh in everyone's mind. This is an opportunity for any and all volunteers, again, to be boots on the ground, serve in their community, when there's not a disaster, to help prepare their community before they might have a home fire. So if you're interested in doing that, it's a great way to get exercise. I did about 100 homes in an hour and a half. So depending on the neighborhood, you can really hit a lot of homes easily. And we're really trying to work with community partners like our local fire departments. But if you know another agency, a community partner agency that might be interested in doing that and just getting the word out in their community, man, we'd love to hit the streets with them. So that's another thing we can talk about with our faith-based organizations, Barry, when we're doing the other outreaches. Hey, this other thing that we do is install free smoke detectors. If you want to help one of your neighborhoods or communities, we'd love for you to team up with us and just go do some canvassing and let people know the programs that are available. So anyone have any questions about that? Our DAT calls or the outreach we're trying to do right after our DAT calls?
How would we say you want to do it like with our HOA? How would we let you know or go about?
The preparedness meeting would be a perfect time to bring it up. The one thing is we never want anyone to go by themselves to do it. So find other volunteers who may be able to support in those efforts and help coordinate it. But really, it can be easy. It can be just a matter of saying, hey, we have 10 people from the church who want to go out next Sunday after church. Do we have a volunteer and the resources to go out and do it? And it really is quite easy. And we have tons of door hangers here. So if you just want to take some home with you and go out with other church members, I'm fine with that as long as you're not alone, just for safety and security. No one should ever be by themselves. But yeah, it's a great opportunity. And then anyone just calls into our phone number. Kirk, who runs our home fire campaign, he calls out to everyone who left a message requesting a smoke detector and coordinates it based on who's going to be in that area. If we get a lot of calls from one of our rural areas, we might reach out to a partner for support. And it'd be great to have different faith-based partners out there who, let's say, wanted to support Douglas County or wanted to support an outreach type event in Carson City or one of our other areas. So Yeah, and we have tons of materials. And if a partner ever just says, hey, can we hand these out? Oh, yes. Yes, they can. We have bazillions. I don't know how many bazillions, but a lot, and I can always get more. So it's all about getting the word out that they're free. And what I really emphasize is that for those folks out in our communities that have hearing challenges, we'll install the bed shaker or strobe light ones free of charge. And those are pretty expensive and they're a little bit tricky to install. So people may hesitate to purchase them on their own. So yeah, we would do that and it's all free. Any questions online before I move forward, you guys? Okay. Well, some other things that happened since our last meeting is that on Saturday I was in Winnemucca at the Holiday Christmas Parade of Lights. It was a lot of fun. Trying to resurge some energy out there in Winnemucca. Also, that happened that we were not able to attend, but we're going to next year, is they also had a Christmas Parade of Lights in Elko. Sarah Stevenson, I think she attended as a guest, but can you tell us a little bit about that parade if you're still online?
I am still online, so I'm sick though, so excuse my voice, but we did a float for my job actually. Nevada State Bank did a gingerbread village float, and there's a lot of participants. It goes for quite a while, so it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. So make sure we know about it next year because Red Cross would love to participate. I think it's an excellent opportunity just to remind folks that Red Cross is in Elko. And if we get enough volunteers, we can pass out snacks and hopefully utilize it as a potential volunteer recruitment event as well.
We went through over, just to give you an idea, we went through over 1,800 pieces of candy. It is, and that didn't get us all the way through. So it's incredibly popular.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, no. No, I thought I ordered enough, but I guess not. So it's an incredibly popular thing over here. So I think it would be a great opportunity.
Awesome. And next year also, just as a partner, we have a source here in Washoe that is donating snacks to us, like endless supplies, as much as we need. And so if you ever need snacks, please reach out and let me know. Because I have cases full. I have cases of Pockies right now. So they're perfect to hand out at parades. Thank you so much. And yeah, we look forward to being there in Elko next year. We'll probably alternate Winnemucca and Elko every other year if they keep having their event on the same night, which is not very fun because I'd love to go to both. Also this morning, Jim Rich and I attended the Mineral County Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting, which for those of you who are not aware of what happens at local emergency planning committees, it's when the emergency manager, usually of that county, hosts a meeting where all of the different agencies that might support during an emergency come together and talk about planning and how it might look for a disaster response. So a lot of times Red Cross is at that table and welcome to talk about ESF 6, which is our emergency support function, or mass care, right? Taking care of people. So when there's a disaster or emergency, how is Red Cross going to support taking care of the people in that operational area? And what other partners are we going to bring to the table to help support in that response? Whether it's a single family house fire or an evacuation for a transportation incident or a natural event like a wildfire or earthquake, and what each of those agencies are going to do and how that timeline looks. And most importantly, what gaps there are. What are we missing? What agencies are not at the table, but we need at the table to take care of other things that need to happen? A lot of things occur during disasters. We had a similar meeting just a week ago, also in Mineral County, specifically talking about sheltering and feeding. And one of the town commissioners went home. He's like, I didn't sleep at all last week after our meeting because kept thinking of all those little details that you bring up. And he said, it seems so simple taking care of people, right? They just need shelter and food. It does. It sounds super simple because that's what we do in our homes every day. But when you're talking about a group of people and other hazards that are impacting access or how we may get supplies or resources that we need, he's like, there's a lot of little details, like who's going to cook the food if you have the food, or if the power's out, how is the food going to be cooked? What are all these little things? And so having those conversations and really getting down to the nitty gritty is what can happen at those local emergency planning committee meetings, or can encourage us to have additional meetings specifically around how mass care is going to be handled, which is my ideal dream, because those are all the conversations we want to have before an incident happens, because all those little things can cascade and create huge delays in taking care of people who are already going through a terrible event, possibly the worst event that they've ever been through in their life. So the more we can have our ducks in order and the more agencies we can have on board to fill all these little particular needs as efficiently as possible, the better the people are taken care of who've been impacted and who are already going through a lot. So anyone have any questions about local emergency planning committee meetings or any interest in attending those meetings in your community or area? Very, all right, awesome. So let's talk about that. Douglas County, right? So Douglas County, there is a lot happening in Douglas County, and it's a good county for us to talk about for a couple different reasons. First reason is they have one of those brand new emergency managers that we're talking about. The second thing is they're in a conversion because they did have their fire chief who had acted in that role. And they have I'm not going to say internal struggle, but they're figuring out a lot of details right now about how emergency management looks in their county. Also, there have been challenges with interactions and responses with Red Cross in that county in the past. So we're really working on rebuilding our rapport with them and rebuilding their faith in us in how we respond to disasters. A lot of the challenges that occurred were not because of things that weren't planned for in Northern Nevada, but were actually things that kind of cascaded over from California during the Caldor fire and other fires that have happened in California where Nevada is supporting California evacuees. So we have a lot of work to do in Douglas County on how we're going to work together with their teams to respond to disaster. And it's kind of in limbo right now. We did have an agreement where they were going to handle it the first 72 hours and then request Red Cross support. I think that's changed now with their change in leadership. So awesome. Thank you so much for volunteering. Jim, Rich, and I will work with you closely on kind of what you need to know going into those meetings and be prepared for the questions you're going to ask. And we're going to definitely be at the next couple just because we're working so much on building that rapport and how we can plan effectively right now because there are so many things in limbo in Douglas County. And it's a crucial county to have in check because a lot of times they're supporting evacuees from California and other neighboring counties that may not have as many resources. So,
and they have tribal there too, of course.
yes, and tribal that straddles the border down in the Walker Reservation. So super tricky area to navigate and very important and crucial that we have representation there as often as possible. So that will be incredible. And I think, yeah, you're going to be a great person for that. Any other questions or volunteers who would like to attend the local emergency planning committee meetings in their areas? Okay. Also today, This actually is not a future event. It just happened between 2 and 3 p.m. We had a mass casualty and National Transportation Safety Board event response overview meeting. And what it covered was how Red Cross is going to respond and how the request for our response works when the National Transportation Safety Board is involved. National Transportation Safety Board gets involved anytime there's a major transportation incident, whether it be on the rail, on the freeway, or in the air. Or both, probably. Not totally sure if that's just the Coast Guard or if they get involved, but they probably get involved in boats as well. And anytime there's mass fatalities. So Red Cross is called in generally to open a family assistance center to support those who either have been rescued and don't need medical attention, but may need disaster mental health, disaster spiritual care, or other disaster health services type support, or family members of those individuals who might be looking for individuals who might have been impacted by the disaster, the transportation incident. So either their family members may have passed away or may be missing. And so we will support in a family assistance center with reunification a lot of times, with our disaster mental health, disaster spiritual care, and sometimes just canteening, providing a safe place, food, snacks, and a safe place for them to wait for information and get information as it comes available from either the Transportation Safety Board or the airline or whatever agency is in charge of that incident. So it was a really great meeting. There are all sorts of different trainings, especially for mass casualty response. Mass casualties can happen anywhere, whether they're transportation related or people related, like a mass shooting or other type of terrorist event. So the more people we have trained up to deal, especially with those sensitive situations where there might be a lot of mass casualties, the better, because we don't necessarily know when and where they're going to happen. They could happen, and most usually happen in more populated areas, but they happen in our rural communities as well. And how are we going to support those individuals as quickly as possible? And if we don't have a team that's right close, who are our community partners that we're going to be able to refer people to in those communities for that support? And a lot of our communities have exercises for mass casualty responses. If you guys are interested in becoming trained for mass casualty responses, please let me know. There's a couple of courses you take online, and then there's a couple of courses that are in person. We're trying to get those scheduled to occur in this office as soon as possible, because the sooner we can have a local team trained up, the better, and the faster we can respond to support. We have a pretty small group right now that's authorized to respond to mass casualty events. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. Reach out to me by email. Also, who can support with any questions in that is Jocelyn. So if you guys have any questions, she was the one who hosted that meeting today. Please reach out to either one of us. Jim Rich is also trained in specifically how NTSB communicates with us and requests our services through our government operations. So lots involved when we have a response like that, but please let me know if you're interested and we can give you the details. The other thing that just happened was our disaster action team response fundamentals training. And I'm guessing, were any of you in it? Nope. Was there only one person in there? Okay, so it sounds like Jim's with one person right now in person, but I think there are some people taking it online as well. I do know at least 2 of our new volunteers from Mineral County are taking it virtually that we met up with this morning. So that's very exciting. We doubled our team in Mineral County because we previously had 2 volunteers down there. So now we have 4. It's super exciting. We had just had our preparedness work preparedness work group meeting. I talked a lot about that. Our next one's on January 9th, and we will talk more about that at our next couple of meetings. The other thing that I would love to hear from you guys is other events that we should add to our calendar or that we should participate in. If there's parades or community events in your communities and your local areas that you think Red Cross should be at, please let us know. We can't be everywhere, but I would love to be as many places as we can. We have no budget. So if there's money involved to like be at a table or something, it's pretty much off the table because I have no budget for those things. But if it's a community event that they just want our presence at, we would love to be there. Either our recruitment team or our preparedness team, if it's an event that we can utilize to help share information about how to be more prepared about disaster, or if it's an event that might appeal to our service to armed forces. Let me know and let's put it on. Jean will help us put it on the calendar. I'll talk about it at the meeting, but it's just another way for our volunteers, if they want to be boots on the ground and serving in their community, an opportunity to do so. So please let us know if it's anything we might want to attend or go to. Any questions about announcing events or adding events to our calendar? Okay. Each week, I also talk about different areas where we need team member support. We touched on this a little bit, but not specifically as it called. The region would like to see us build as many shelter strike teams as we can. So you might ask, what is a shelter strike team? It's pretty much our DAT responders who are trained for sheltering, who can really get out there and be the first ones to open and start operating a shelter should we have to open a shelter for any reason, whether it be for an evacuation or a warming center or a family assistance center or anything that Red Cross may be requested to open to support that requires a facility. That's what I'm going to call a shelter strike team. So it's basically those disaster action team members that are also trained in sheltering. If you're interested in officially being on a shelter strike team for a particular operational area, so Barry, I'm going to pick on you again. Let's say you'd be on a shelter strike team for Douglas and Carson, but not Reno, Washoe, right? Because that'd be too far for you to go. Let me know. So basically, it's anywhere you'd be willing to go to be one of those initial first responders within an hour of your home. So if you can accommodate Washoe County and Carson City, or Washoe County and Lyon County, or just within an hour of your home, let me know. We're trying to put those specific named individuals together and then also identify who's the supervisor, who's going to lead that team should that need to happen. So it can be kind of one call, similar to our DAC calls, but for sheltering. Does anyone have any questions about that? Or do you want to jump up and say, yes, I want to be part of those shelter strike teams? Yay. Yay. Awesome. Thank you, guys. So ideally, we're looking for a supervisor and then 3 service associates for each area or pocket. So I'm going to be reaching out to everybody and sending out a sign up. So if you're interested in training up to maybe become that supervisor and lead that team, that would be awesome. If you're interested in being more in the support role as a service associate, let me know. And then the idea is for each operational area for those strike teams, you guys will get tasks. Okay, supervisor, you're going to go in, you're in charge of setting up the admin table. Service associate number 1, you're in charge of working with whatever community partner we've identified to get the dormitory set up. Service associate number 2, you're in charge of working with whatever community partner has been identified to go help put up signs to get people to the shelter. Service associate number 3, you're in charge of information. working with our government ops team and whatever points of contact on our incident command that we are getting information from that we can share with people as they're showing up to get services. And then that fourth individual, what else is needed? Do we have our health services team on the way? Do we have our mental health services team on the way? Do we have our spiritual care team on the way? That person's going to be working with me to identify whatever needs and resources we need to get rolling immediately to that facility outside of what's already in our shelter trailer. So does that make sense to everybody? Kind of why we want to put those shelter strike teams together for each area and how that might look? Okay. So I've had quite a few people in the room raise their hands, but I'm going to send out, like I said, this agenda tomorrow. And I'm also going to put the ask out to everybody I send this out to via a survey of what they'd like to do and where they would like to serve if they'd like to be on one of those strike teams. We are going into potential flood season. Last year, we literally had flood watches and warnings throughout northern Nevada from January 1st to July 1st. Different areas at different times, depending on the snow and the weather and where rain was expected and how the temperatures depended on fluctuating. And that's why us identifying multiple shelter strike teams for the different areas is vital, because we never know when something's going to happen. Last year, we responded in Eureka. Yes, how many volunteers we have in Eureka? Ganaro. So hopefully we will get some volunteers in Eureka, but they hadn't seen us for years, literally years. Because there's just not many folks in that part of Nevada. So we need to know who can really get up and go right now. We had volunteers from Winnemucca that were able to hook up and roll right away. We were able to get to Eureka within 2 hours. So we made it within our normal response time. But it's challenging. If it was White Pine County, we probably wouldn't have made it. So it's about kind of finding those people out in these different areas that could get up and go pretty quickly, even if it's not in their backyard. So thank you guys, and more to come on that. I don't think there are any deployment opportunities right now outside of disaster mental health in Maui. That seems to be kind of the ongoing, if there's even that. Elaine's given me a funny look, so there might not be.
There was an email today asking for volunteers to go to several different places in Tennessee.
Oh, really? Let's look. Actually, you guys, then let me look, because I know there were some tornadoes that happened in Tennessee. So I'm going to pull up Volunteer Connection if it will open for me. Do you remember, Chico, if it was for disaster health services or if it was for sheltering? Oh my goodness. Okay, so I looked at this last night, you guys, when I was preparing the agenda. So let's take a look, because there might be a lot more than since those tornadoes. They may have requested or opened up a lot more jobs.
Because like Elaine was trying to teach me it yesterday. So look where the openings are, like can you talk through that as you're clicking?
Yes. So what you guys see on my screen right now and what I'm pulling up, you guys cannot see. The reason I'm pulling it up is because it tells me exactly right now to the minute everything that's open and available. I will show you guys a view that everyone can access through Volunteer Connection, but it may be a couple hours old. So for instance, you might look and it might say, oh, they need 10 disaster health services workers. But if you call me and I look to actually assign you, they may not be there anymore. So yes to both. But right now, the view that you guys are seeing actually allows me to assign people to these positions. And right now, they're looking for in mass care. Yeah, there's still 2 shelter openings. So they're looking for staff services, recovery workers, specifically shelter resident transition workers. They are looking for an 80 of workforce, which we probably don't have anyone qualified for that, but they are looking for sheltering service associates, feeding supervisors, feeding service associates, distribution of emergency supplies service associates, a transportation supervisor, a transportation manager, disaster mental health supervisors and service associates, and a public affairs supervisor. Betsy, isn't that you? I'm just kidding.
It's just Maui.
So we can start looking at the different places. They're going to be all different places. So let me look. So staff services is Nashville. I think most of them are going to be Nashville right now. Let's look at sheltering because that's most people. That's Arizona. So I don't know what's happening in Arizona for a response. It might be border support, but for feeding, feeding is Gainesville. So it's all over the place. We have Florida, Tennessee. So I would say if you guys have any interest in deploying, let me know and we'll see if a position is open that you qualify for and where it's at. Because yeah, they're scattered all over. Thank you for bringing that up, Elaine, because I would have totally been a fibber saying there's no deployment opportunities. So yeah, you guys, there's quite a few deployment opportunities. If you're interested, let me know and we'll get you out there. Oh, you asked where you look. So from Volunteer Connection, if you guys want to see what volunteer opportunities there are from the home screen, you're going to click on RC View. And you're going to go to the National Operations Summary, which is the first one that comes up. And this is where it's a little bit weird, you guys, because even though staffing is not really part of logistics, on this National Operations Summary, it's under number 4, the Logistics tab. And it's kind of slow. And the first tab that comes up is staffing. If it loads, you'll see it at the top. And you want to be in the staffing tab, but then there's also tabs at the bottom. And you want to click the one that says open staff requested. And that's where it gives an overview of all of the open requests. But there's a lot more on here than the view I showed you before because a lot of them have been filled since this was updated. So it looks like there's a ton of different open positions that I couldn't actually assign you for if I went in there. But most of them are in Nashville. You do get an easier view of where they're all located on this screen. Does anyone have any questions about how I got to this window? Do you want me to go back and show it again, or about open deployment opportunities?
We didn't actually show it to us.
I did. You just can't see that far away, Chico. And I'm sorry I couldn't get it up on the monitor. I couldn't get it to work today. It doesn't like me. So I'm really...
Is RC View at the top, one of the top headers?
It's RC View Edge.
Yeah, it's
So one
right under your face.
right in
Yeah, it's one of these. And I would say just go check that out in general, you guys. Click on that RC View tab and go to the National Operations Summary when you get time. And just, there's a ton of information here if you're curious about what disaster responses are happening throughout the nation, where Red Cross is, what we're doing. You can click on each of these different tabs. You can go here for a weather report if you want. But but it's really what our information and planning team uses from the national level all the way down to wherever the disaster relief operation is happening to give situational awareness on that area or that disaster relief operation. Brad Kaiserman, who's the vice president of logistics and operations, this is what he uses to have an understanding overall nationally how our operations look, where there might be needs, where there might be gaps, all of those different things. But you can see all of our sheltering operations on a map. And it's all map based. So you can click and find things based on the map. But it's pretty slow here in our Red Cross office because our internet is not really fast right now, probably because there's a number of people using it. But you can go on here and see how many people we sheltered last night, where they were sheltered, how many people we fed, all of those different things. Good information. We still have over 6,500 people in shelter, almost 6,600. Most of those are still in Hawaii, which, as we know, are in non-congregate shelter situations. So not a big congregate shelter, but those are still all those folks who have not found even a semi-permanent or I guess, longer term temporary housing situation. They're still in a very temporary situation without a plan of where they're going to go. And that's a lot of people considering that fire happened in August.
They haven't opened up Lahaina yet, have they? It's still closed up.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But honestly, I don't have, yeah. I haven't been in the loop on current operations in a while. Okay, you guys, we're running out of time. We're getting down to our 4-minute mark. I'm going to go back to the agenda. All we really have left is our upcoming in-person meetings, which also on January 9th, not only are we having our preparedness meeting, but we're having our in-person meeting at Barry's house. Woohoo! Thank you, Barry, for volunteering. So Barry, may we show up at 3 o'clock and have our preparedness meeting there as well?
Sure.
Awesome. So preparedness meeting and all volunteer opportunities meeting January 9th at Barry's house. Preparedness meeting starts at 3. Our all volunteer opportunities meeting starts at 4, and I will share the location and all the details at our next meeting. Does anyone have any questions before we check out? All right. Well, for all of you online, it was nice having you virtually. I'm sorry you're not here with us in person to enjoy the snacks and goodies we're about to go engulf in, but we hope to see you at our next in-person meeting at Barry's house, where you can enjoy goodies and snacks with us. Have a great afternoon. Oh, and I did see a hand up. Who was that? Okay. Well, with that, you guys have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you so much. We will see you all soon.